like to think that the environment that I'm creating is sending ripple effects through every single person that comes in contact with it. So what does the environment look like? Are we energetic? Are we excited? Do we care? Are we passionate? Or is everybody just kind of checking in and out, doing their thing? There's no real community. I don't want that for people. We live in a world today where we are more disconnected than ever before. I don't want to create a workplace that feels disconnected and that is disconnected. And so just through caring and just through communicating to your team members about their goals, you can make a massive impact on their lives, which ultimately for me is the best part of being a business owner.
Natalie, I'd like to welcome you to the Holding Time Back podcast. It is such a pleasure to have you here today. You have been one of my biggest mentors in business, and I learned from Cardone Ventures that you need to pick at least 5 mentors and study them on a daily basis. And I have read your books. I'm reading your second book right now, and I cannot wait for you to share with this community listening just about you, how you got to where you are, more about Cardone Ventures and about your books, and just inspiring words you have for business owners as they embark on these incredible journeys of trying to build their own businesses and get through that. So welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you for having me. You are so fantastic, and I cannot wait to see how successful this podcast becomes because I know you are going to give all of the best little nuggets and points of value to people who are listening. So I'm so excited to be a part of this.
Hey, well, the first thing I want to ask you is I want to hear about little Natalie. And I've heard some stories, but if you were to tell our listeners about little Natalie and what made you this strong, confident woman you are today, what would you say?
Little Natalie always knew that she wanted to make an impact on the world. There was no lack of clarity from a very young age that I could just see how I could help people, and I really wanted to help people, but I was very lost for a long time on what that actually looked like and how I was going to make an impact on the world. But one of my favorite quotes growing up was, "Be the change that you wish to see in the world." And I had this little plaque on my desk through middle school, through high school, and I was sharp. I studied, I worked hard, but I just didn't really have a direction until I started helping business owners. But little Natalie was like super tenacious. And I think of myself as like this protected little person that it's like, you can go do anything. And then, life happened and people's criticisms and self-doubt and all of that started to affect me probably around the age of 12. I think middle school is really pivotal for most people. And that's when I started to not be this like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed young girl and started to kind of hold myself back.
And what made you get over that? How did you pull yourself out of that and kind of see the world differently and say, I'm going to be the change that I want to see in the world?
It honestly took me at least 12 years to figure out how to be myself. I felt like in high school, I just followed the herd and wasn't my own person. And then through college, I tried to reinvent myself in college. College was fun from that standpoint. I remember going into college my freshman year and I was like, I'm just going to drop this whole self-conscious thing and I'm going to be the most outgoing person. So I will never forget my first weekend in college. I would ditch everybody that I was spending time with in order to go to the next dorm to go meet those people because I knew I was looking for people. And that's been the common thread in my life. I'm looking for people. Who are my people? Who believes in the same things I believe in? Who is interesting and exciting and doing big things? And so I would just ditch all of these other dorms in order to find my people. And I did manage to find a handful of people in college that I really connected with because I knew it was people. It wasn't about me being in this dorm and I'm going to identify with the dorm. It was about who are the people and how can we connect and how can we collaborate?
Right.
But even through college, I felt entirely purposeless. That was my parents' idea for me to go to college. It wasn't something that I said, this is what I want and I see how this is going to contribute to my career and my future. And it wasn't until I started working and I started working in my now husband's business where I really started to understand the impact of leadership and becoming the person that you want to be in order to then be able to lead other people. And when it comes to really making an impact on the world and being the change that you wish to see, that change actually starts with you. And for a long time, I thought that I had to go out and find people that I needed to help when really I hadn't helped myself. I wasn't even in control of my own environment. I couldn't keep promises that I made to myself. I couldn't wake up when I wanted to wake up or go work out or have the things that I wanted in my life because I wasn't holding myself accountable to those things. And so that pivot really happened in my early 20s of moving from it's my responsibility to go help all of these people to wait, I have to get stats and success myself and first help myself so that then I can be an example to other people of how they can do that for themselves.
Wow, and boy, are you that now. You are the example, and you are leading a change in business, truly. I go, speaking to the change, you have to, in order to change, you have to change. I heard this at 10X Ladies, and it's been ringing in my head ever since last weekend, 2 weekends prior. In order to change, you have to change, and you really have to analyze every portion of your life to figure out, what do I need to change? What am I spending time on in order to get to the next level and create success? So I know you're big on daily routines, and I love hearing what you do. It is such a dedication that it takes to stick to the routine that you've stuck to. I've watched how much you travel, how much you're doing these events. I mean, you hardly ever take any time off. And your daily routine is so important for your success. So tell me a little bit about your daily routine morning to night and how it took you to get there.
My biggest hack when I decided I needed to change was no longer telling myself that I wasn't a morning person. And I made that decision 5 years ago, and that kicked everything else off. And so this lie that I told myself for so many years was I'm not a morning person. I'm a night owl, which would lead to me staying up too late, me watching The Real Housewives too late, then not working out in the morning because I didn't get up in time to be able to actually have a great start to my morning. And so for me, it's still today starts with my phone shuts off at 9 o'clock. I'm in bed by 9:30 so that I'm up at least before 5:30. I try to get 8 hours of sleep a night. I do not believe in hustle culture from the standpoint that you should sacrifice your health and your well-being because I want to have it all. I want to be in great shape. I want to feel great. I want to look good. I want to have a great relationship with my husband. I want to have a kick-ass business with team members who support me and trust me and believe in me. So for me, success isn't just about maximizing your time so that you're working 20 hours a day and only sleeping to 4 hours and you're just deprived as a human being. To me, real success looks like having it all. And I believe that I can have it all. And that foundationally does start with me going to bed very early, waking up early so that I am in charge of my time. And for so long, that was such a limiting belief that I wasn't in charge of my time because I was not a morning person. So I don't believe people are persons. Like
Yes.
you are a night owl, you're not a night owl. You're actually a human being. So, well, you're really not an owl to begin with, I guess. But that really starts with the time that I spend sleeping and using that as the foundation of my day.
Yeah, I mean, I take that and I go, wow, I need to copy your schedule so that I can get more done in my day. And that's what our family is trying to do, the exact same thing now, of like turning off our phones at 9, getting into bed early, waking up early in the morning. I was up at 5:45 this morning getting ready for my day. And you get so much more done when you're up early in the morning than you ever imagined you could before. Like, we don't need that extra hour watching TV at night or doing nothing, scrolling on our phones. We just need to shut it down. If you want to get the things done, if you focus on a goal, you have to go after it, and you have to change in your life. So I love that. You've been a role model in that way as well. And my next question is, we what I learned at the very first 10X Ladies that I attended was we're the average of the 5 people we hang out with. And we have certain people that we have that are in the front row of our movie theater cheering for us that shouldn't be there. We need to move them out or out of the movie theater or kick them out entirely. And I've seen you surround yourself intentionally with the people that are successful, with the people that you want to be like, with the people that would give you that motivation and inspiration to have the success that you dream of. And I know that you have a great story that you always tell about how you sought out that relationship with Grant Cardone and Elena Cardone. And I'd love for you to share that for all the people that have never heard that before. It's just so beautiful.
I believe that we should find people in this lifetime that inspire every single aspect of our lives. And for the longest time, I was actually very confused by this because I would take one little thing that somebody would do and I would make them my mentor. So I would watch a woman who started a business and she had all this business success. But then when I looked at the other parts of her life, they were falling apart. Her marriage was falling apart. She wasn't a present mom. And so I really, at the age of 25, decided that I was going to find somebody who had a similar life to me, similar circumstances to me, but was winning and creating what I wanted to have. And for me, a huge part of this actually started with the fact that Brandon and I have an age difference. And so I was looking for people who had also figured out how to navigate this age difference, because I had a lot of limiting beliefs about he's always going to get the credit and no one's ever going to take me seriously. Mm-hmm. And so when I found Elena Cardone online, it's like, they're 15 years apart. She is a freaking badass. The way that she presented on stage, the videos I would watch of her, I honestly, I idolized her confidence and the stage presence that she had. And then you look at the marriage that they have and the relationship with the kids and the empire that she's built. And I was like, this woman actually checks all of the boxes for me. Mm-hmm. And so I went all in. I studied every single thing that she had put out. I read her book. I bought her course. I watched all of the YouTube videos alongside Grant's. And I introduced Grant to my husband via YouTube. And at first he was very put off because if you know anything about Grant Cardone, he can be a little abrasive. His YouTube content is a little wild. My husband was a very traditional business person, wanted to go down the private equity route when we started our next venture. And I was like, I really think you should look at this guy. And he hated him at first until I forced him to read the 10X rule in a car ride one day. And as I mentioned, my husband's a little bit older than me, so he can't exactly work the Bluetooth. So I got to override the Bluetooth and we listened to the 10X rule. He's like, wow, this guy really knows what he's talking about. And so from there, we showed up to an event that they hosted on Super Bowl Sunday in 2019 with 35,000 people in a stadium and found out that they were the real deal. It wasn't just this facade that's so easy to see on YouTube and Instagram today. And when we saw that they were real and that they had what we wanted and we also could contribute back to them something that they didn't have, which was the consulting side and the business growth and scaling strategies, and we could add this to their existing business, we said we're going to go all in and figure out how we can do business and be partners together. And that was 5 years ago. We've helped tens of thousands of people in this process, and we feel like we're just getting started with them. But it's really started out of this need to find somebody who was doing what I wanted to do and was willing to also help in the process. Most people, when they get wealthy, like the Cardones, they just shy away. They no longer promote themselves because they kind of succumb to all of the pressure around them. And the fact that they still show up for the community that they have, despite not needing to, was beyond inspirational and was very different from all of the conversations that were happening around me in my life at that time.
Wow. So at 2019, you had this vision of this is who I want to work with. This is what couple we want to pair with because they show up all the time. They show so much success. They basically are the type of human that you want to be like and surround yourself with. So you intentionally made that decision. And then 2019 until now, you've co-founded Cardone Ventures and built this incredible company that last year did 125 million in revenue. And you've become this massive powerhouse. You've become the leader, and you are the leader of Cardone Ventures. I mean, you have driven me, Natalie, to go to the levels that I've gone to in the med spa world. I've studied your methods. I've studied what you've taught. I've taken the courses, and really, you've been now my inspiration. So it's pretty cool to see that you can have this impact on people, and it's just beginning. It's the snowball effect. So tell us about Cardone Ventures and like what that journey was like in the startup phase and where it is now, and just give people a little taste of what it is.
I mean, it's been wild. And first off, I want to acknowledge you. You are one of the very few people who show up and consistently show up, but then also put in the work on the back end. And that's really what we're trying to give business owners a glimpse into, that if you already have to work and you're already starting a business or you have a business that you've been running for a while, it's just a little extra energy and attention that can take you from where you're at, being frustrated and feeling like everything's against you and your team doesn't like you and it's hard, to having success and being around a team that is excited to fulfill your mission and to service your customers and to grow your business so that you have more options in life and you're able to spend more time with your kids. You're able to give to your charities, because if good business owners scale this company and this the organization that they've started is able to make such a greater impact than if they just continue to think that they can't have more or they shouldn't have more. And so for us, you are such a shining example of what it really takes to do it a little bit differently. You were already working hard. You were already doing the trainings. You were already like trying to figure out how to grow, but it's just like those tweaks and maybe a little extra hard work. But if you knew that you only had to work 20% harder, 30% harder, and you could have a massive difference, I would think most business owners would be like, yeah, I'm willing to do a little bit more in order to get to where I'm actually trying to go instead of settling. And so I appreciate you. And that's what we're all about at Cardone Ventures. We exist to help business owners grow and scale and have the business that they've always dreamed of that is impacting their clients, but most importantly, their team members. And if their team members can see how they win through working inside a business where a business owner really cares, we find that the clients and the customers or the patients, whoever the business is serving, they also win. So you have more prosperous communities, and we want to change how businesses run in the small to mid-sized business space. And that's what we spend every waking minute doing, and have been doing that for the last 5 years since we started. And it's been a wild, wild ride.
It's incredible to be in the community and, joining in 2021, taking my first courses then and seeing the growth of the other business owners and the massive success that they have. It's so neat to watch other people grow in the community and then celebrate success with them. So, if there's anything I can encourage people to do, it's take some of these courses. The first course that I took was People's Essentials. And People's Essentials, I mean, the nuts and the bolts of it are in your first book, which I want to get to in a second. But it is, you put in the work, and you have to put in the work with your people. So, like, for example, we rewrote our mission, vision, and core values, with your team at Cardone Ventures. And we took them to the next level. We 10x them. We 100x them. We started putting them into our job descriptions. And then we started hiring based on mission, vision, core values, a 3-part interview process. And I talk about this all the time whenever I'm teaching in aesthetics. And I want you to talk about it a little bit, about hiring slow and firing fast and how important that is. I know that's something that's so important for business owners to know. So can you talk a little bit about that piece?
Absolutely. Team members want to know that they are a part of something. And business owners oftentimes don't think of that as their responsibility. They don't think that I'm creating this opportunity for somebody to have their career goals and their career dreams fulfilled through the business that I started. They don't think about that. They just think I'm servicing a customer. And so for us, the core foundation is, why does your business exist? Where is your business going? And how would you define your culture? And when a business owner can get really clear on those 3 things, they're able to attract people who are interested in changing the trajectory of their lives through working inside that business. And when those things don't exist and there isn't clarity, you just get team members who took a job and they're clocking in and out, which might be fine for a business that doesn't want to grow. But if your business does want to grow, you need to find a way to get great people to understand what you're up to and where you're going and how they win through being with you. And so just recently I took over a new area of our organization, and I have a brand new team of people. There's 7 of them. And I just keep talking about the vision. I'm like, this is where we're going. Imagine what it's going to be like in 18 months from now when we've created this thing. I'm continuing to create this inspiration inside our organization about where we're going. Because right now, what it sounds like is a bunch of work. It's a bunch of trackers. It's a bunch of editing. It's a bunch of revisions. It's just all of the not fun, sexy things. And if you don't have this guiding light to say, this is where we're going and you're going to be a part of this, and you create energy around it, then your team isn't inspired and they're not excited. And of course, the result is not what you want it to be. So the business owner has to take responsibility of that mission and continuing to drive it into every single department, whether it's a small organization where everybody reports to you, or you have a massive organization, it's your responsibility. And, as we've grown from pretty much all of our team members reporting to me 5 years ago to today, we have 40 leaders, and some of them have leaders underneath them. So there's multiple layers of management in a large organization. It's still today the thing that I rely the most heavily on, which is it's my job to instill that we are creating something and that we are going in a direction where everybody is going to win. And so I do this now on a department level, which is the same thing that I was doing back when we started Cardone Ventures for the whole company level. And that skill, if you can learn it when you're small, it translates because that's what people are looking for. When they work with you, they're looking for you to inspire them and help them get to where they want to go. And you just got to keep flexing that muscle until you're really strong with it. And then you teach other people how to do the same inside their departments, which is what allows them to be great leaders as well.
Right. Right. Wow. It's so true. Your people are everything, and setting that vision and having your belief. I mean, I've learned so much about belief lids from you guys. When you believe that you can get there, and then you cast that vision for your people, and then you get there, now they have more confidence in you, and then you attract more people that want to do just that same thing with you again and again and again and again, because now you have what you say is stats. You have a track record of stats of success. So tell me a little bit about teamwork. Okay. I give this book to my team when they come on board. I love this book. I feel like you've given every one of your secrets away in it. This is People's Essentials to a Core, how teamwork, how to build a high performance team. I'd love to hear how long it took you to write the book, why you decided to write a book, and then how successful this has been, because I know it's been massively successful as your first book. And then we'll talk about your second book.
Well, Grant Cardone one time said that the goal is not to write a book. The goal is to finish a book. And so when I heard him say that, it's like, yeah, you're right. You're not writing a book. It's not that you want to take 2 years to write the perfect book. No, finish a book. So for me, teamwork was written in 10 days. And I love that teamwork was written in 10 days because I banged the book out.
Yeah.
10 days. But once you have stats in something, like I have stats in hiring people, I have stats in creating a good culture. When I wrote that book, we had 88 team members at Cardone Ventures. I had onboarded every single one of them. I had trained all of them. I had fired 30 people at that point. So I had a lot of stats. And for people who are looking to write a book, my piece of advice would be, once you get the stats, it's easy to write the book because you're talking about real life experiences that you have. And so teamwork was birthed in 10 days. It was a wild year. I wrote the book, was getting married, moved into a new house, sold a condo, like all the things were happening during the launch of teamwork. And still today, I am so proud of this book because we've moved from having 88 team members to over 330 team members. And I still use the exact same things. I still use our one-on-one form. I still use the PPF process. I still use the employee maturity model. And those things, those secrets that I gave away in that book are the things that I rely on to grow our business today. And part of me was a little nervous when I wrote the book that like maybe something's going to change at the 150 employee mark, or when we hire 200 people, it might need to look totally different. And the reality has been it is not different. Once you have the foundation of how to be a good leader, how to onboard somebody, what the culture should look like, you're just re-infusing that with your leaders who then do it with their team members, who hopefully one day become leaders, who then do it with their team members. And teamwork has been such a successful action. I was hoping that the second book was going to be as easy to write. It definitely was not.
It wasn't. How long did that one take?
Well, it took at first 2 months, and then I got my ass kicked and had to rewrite the whole book because I had a lot of learning lessons that hit me last year. And so it took two months, then I rewrote it, and then or I took a real long pause really, and then rewrote it, and that took another 3 months for wrapping that up early this year.
Wow, just kind of changing it up. You were changing it up before you released it.
Yes, when you're building a business, you learn a lot. It's not like it's just stagnant. And so something that is working for you might not continue to work for you a year later. And Start the Work was very different from Teamwork, where Start the Work was about these operating principles. So once you have the people in place, how do you operate a company? And I had a very just challenging year. It was probably the hardest year of my career last year,
Mm.
where I learned a bunch of lessons about a business that we bought and then integrated. And it had challenging vendors and partners and just a whole slew of things that just kind of came crashing over me all at once.
Mm.
And I really wanted to take a pause because I didn't want to put out a shitty book. That was
Got
my
it.
goal. I do
Yeah.
not want to put out a book that doesn't really stand the test of time in the same way that I feel teamwork did. So through
Mm.
those lessons last year, I decided to put it on pause and rewrote many things that now I'm like, okay, I got some battle scars through this process,
Mhm.
and I've learned how to ensure that these principles are tested and able to be implemented across a multitude of businesses.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I just started it. I'm on the second chapter. And with each chapter, so start the work, it's so good. With each chapter, I've had to pause and have it like it basically makes you think about what your 1, 3, 5 year goals are in the very beginning as yourself. And you really have to always go back to that because that's what paints the picture to your employees as well. So I love that it starts with that. I can't wait till it's on audiobook. Otherwise, I would have already finished it this weekend. I'm such an audiobook person. So is my husband, Josh. So I know you said it's coming out soon on audio, but I'm reading this and I cannot wait to integrate both of these into my team at work. I think something that's so special that you've taught us here is to know our employees on a deeper level. And that's what one-to-ones do. I mean, when you sit down with your employees and you listen to their 1, 3, 5 year goals, and you've said if they don't have goals, how could they have goals for your business? It's so true. Then if you find the employees that have goals, you can reverse engineer how to get them where they want to go. It just makes for such a better work relationship. It makes the connections better. It makes them deeper. It makes you know the people that you're working with. And then they know that you care about them too. And I mean, that whole side of things, that structure just has uplifted our team to such a higher level. And our team has evolved into being the team it should be today. Not without some heartache. Of course, you lose people along the way. You have to fire people along the way that weren't the right fit. But I mean, because of that, you've really changed the structure of our team. So I really thank you for that. I mean, you have impacted HTB in a big way.
Thank you for that acknowledgement.
Yeah,
It takes a leader who
absolutely.
cares, and oftentimes we're just not taught when we're first taking on teams how to care about our teams. If anything, we're taught to be scared of your team members. You can't say this, you can't do that. And there's so many different ways for business owners to get themselves into trouble, especially when you're hiring in certain states like
Mm,
California.
yes, I know.
uh,
Hard
but
here.
but if you can just get over the uncomfortability of being responsible for somebody's career, and you can really remember that the idea is connecting with your team members and understanding what's important to them so that they can integrate your business into their lives and see how they can achieve what they're trying to achieve through working with you. And it's the greatest opportunity as a business owner to be able to impact your people's lives because they spend the majority of their time with you. So why not
Mhm.
be intentional about that environment? I like to think that the environment that I'm creating is sending ripple effects through every single person that comes in contact with it. So what does the environment look like? Are we energetic? Are we excited? Do we care? Are we passionate? Or is everybody just kind of checking in and out, doing their thing? There's no real community. I don't want that for people. We live in a world today where we are more disconnected than ever before. I don't want to create a workplace that feels disconnected and that is disconnected. And so just through caring and just through communicating to your team members about their goals, you can make a massive impact on their lives, which ultimately for me is the best part of being a business owner.
Yes, absolutely. So what do you see for the future in 5 to 10 years? Where's Cardone Ventures going? Where are the other enterprises going? What are you envisioning is going to happen? What are
So
your
much growth.
I
All we
bet.
do right now is talk about the next 5 years because when we started this business, we had a 5 year plan
Okay.
and we've hit every target for a 5 year plan. And so now we're really coming to the table and saying, what does the next 5 to 10 years look like? And how do we reprioritize where we're spending our time in order to get there? Our vision has always been we want to impact the lives of 1 million business owners. And there's so many ways that we can do that. And there's so many different channels and paths. So there's some exciting things coming on the horizon for Cardone Ventures because we've spent more time than ever just really taking a little bit of a step back to say, what is the right strategy? How do we get to where we want to go as quickly as possible with the greatest impact possible? And who do we need in order to help us get there? So that's actually why I was a little bit late to this podcast. It's because Brandon and I and our CFO were meeting on some options of just the ways we're looking at doing that.
I love it. Well, if somebody wanted to take the courses, what I'll say first as a structure is business when you're first starting and you're going to start a med spa or you're starting something on the side of your plastic surgery business and now you want to have a med spa connected to it. It's hard to figure out in the beginning. But what I found was when you guys simplified it to 85% of business is the same, 15% is unique. And now you look at that 85% and you go, how do we structure and build a business properly? Looking at it as a sphere or a circle and dividing it into 4 parts. This is how I always explain Cardone Ventures, and I want you to go further into it. But you have sales, you have marketing, sales, finance, and people. And leaning into each of those spheres, you know what your superpowers are, you know what you're good at, but you also know what you're not good at. And that's what Cardone Ventures offered me. It offered me learning and insight into all those pieces that I wasn't good at. So can you talk a little bit about the path that you ideally see a business owner going through when they're learning from you guys? I mean, I think you're the best in the industry to teach business. I think you're better than an MBA program. I honestly feel like I learned the most about business with you guys. That's why I continue to take your courses and continue to show up. And my husband brings his teams as well. I just can't get enough because there's so much to learn. As Heather always says in her trainings, we don't know what we don't know. And when you start like realizing what you don't know, you go, wow, I want to lean into that even more. So for business owners or anyone else maybe wanting to start a business, what's the path that they would take with Cardone Ventures?
If you haven't started a business yet, the first target should be creating $1 million business. And the 7-figure accelerator that we have is so helpful for really understanding the core foundation, which is you need to sell a product. In order to sell a product, you have to be able to market the product. Once you figure out those 2 things, all of a sudden the next set of challenges come, which is how you add people to the equation and ensuring that your operations can actually fulfill upon the brand promise that you've made and the sales journey that somebody has gone through in order to actually be a client who is trusting you to get them a result. So for us, it's the 7-figure accelerator is the starting point for anybody who is at least below $1 million and maybe even contemplating for the very first time that they're looking to start a business. Cardone Ventures, what we specifically focus on is anybody who has a business that's doing at least $1 million in revenue or more. There are these elements of scale that you're talking about that change based off of the different breakpoints that exist. And what we know is between 1 to 3 million, there's a specific set of challenges that a business owner faces versus the second breakpoint, which is between $3 million and $8 million. And the business owner has to be focusing on different things at those different points. And so what's cool about Cardone Ventures is because of the revenue size of a business and also the industry that you're in, now that we've done so much work and so much research into what's happening in the SMB space, the small and mid-sized business space in 2024, we're able to more customize paths for people to say, okay, if you're doing $2 million, this is where we would recommend that you start because we know that you have XYZ set of challenges. And normally, if you're a business doing more than $1 million in revenue, the first place that businesses need to start is with their people and understanding how to find the right people, how to develop them, how to train them, how to duplicate themselves in order to get to the next level, which is more around processes and streamlining structure and all of those very unsexy things. So the starting point from $1 million business owner really is coming to People Essentials so that that whole framework can be laid out, that then they can take the next step.
I love it. And you're in Scottsdale for most of your courses. Are you guys doing any in Miami right now or just
We
in
have
Scottsdale?
been.
Okay.
Yeah, we have
So
been. We've been going back and forth.
Yep. Fantastic. So whether you're on the West Coast or the East Coast, it's a quick, easy commute over there with just a quick little plane ride, and you can go in and take their course. And I would highly, highly recommend going to these. You just unlock so much knowledge, and you take yourself to the next level too. So I want to ask about another thing, 10X Health. So 10X Health is hacking how to hold time back. And part of the podcast Holding Time Back is about getting more time back as a business owner, working on the business, not in the business, but also getting more time for yourself to enjoy special moments with your family or your friends, the people that you really care about, and also take the best care of your body. So with 10x Health, basically 10x Health I see as the wave of the future in terms of the genetic testing that was just introduced and where the trajectory is going internationally. What can you say about it?
We have never been more excited about an investment that we've made, about a movement that's happening than what's happening in 10x Health. We have invested in the patent for what's called a precision nutrition system, which allows somebody to take a genetic test that's going to analyze 54 of their genes, come back with a full report on what they should and shouldn't be eating based off of gene breaks that they have, but also what they should or shouldn't be eating if they're looking to lose weight, how they should be working out, the specifics around it based off of your body. There are 7 trillion different ways that this report could come out based off of the uniqueness of the person. And so, with only 8 billion people on the planet, but there's 7 trillion ways, it really is specific and customized. And we believe that that is the future of health and wellness, is how is Amanda going to respond to certain things, and how can we create custom protocols so that Amanda has the right skincare, the right supplementation, the right IVs. You should never go into a IV therapy clinic and just get a generic Myers cocktail, because if we know that you have a specific type of deficiency, let's say it's vitamin C, why have some generic type when you could have exactly what your body needs in order to be functioning at optimal levels. So there's so much work that we are doing in order to really create products around people's genetics that will just change people's lives. And we're very excited about all of the fun things we have about to roll out on that front.
Wow. I mean, just you guys putting your resources towards this is going to change the world. It's going to change how healthy people are. It's going to change how much more people can do. So I just commend you guys so much for taking on this massive mission. And I cannot wait to see where it goes. And if you're listening and you're in wellness, you definitely need to check out 10x Health. It is absolutely incredible. It's something that, we all should be thinking this way and evolving this way as humans. I mean, I remember when they said we were going to map the human genome for the first time in the 2000s, and I went, "Wow, map the human genome!" And now we're at we're finding the specifics of what foods we should eat, what IVs we should get, what skincare we should use based on our genes. Like, look how far we've evolved in just 24 years from mapping the human genome. It's crazy.
It's
And
unbelievable.
yeah, yeah.
Well, and I was over the weekend talking with he was a judge on America's Next Top Model, Nigel, and he said just 3 years ago he paid a doctor $25,000 to get this genetic test to be able to produce this result. And I'm looking at him, and I was with Elena, and we're like, yeah, our genetic test is literally a fifth of, or no, 5% of that price, and we're making it accessible to all people. And there was no product to be able to help him. He still had to figure out what food sources, and we have the supplementation in a pack instead of 15 jars of supplements. So we really are
Show me that little package.
Oh,
show me
yes,
that.
here's a little package.
So you take that twice a day or once a day?
I take this once a day. This is my
Awesome.
Natalie package.
Amazing. Optimized for you. Those are all the supplements you need all in one. And you just take it all at once. Yeah. I mean, even that is hacking a system of all the pills that you have to carry as your supplements all into one, labeled with your name and personalized for you. So yeah, kudos to you guys.
I can't take my supplements any longer.
Yeah.
Supplements say Natalie. They're off limits.
I love it. So what do you do to hold time back personally besides 10x Health? What do you do on a daily basis, weekly basis?
One of the most successful actions that I started doing about 3 years ago was spending an hour on Sunday. And I go through every single upcoming event in my calendar to understand what needs to be moved, what needs to get canceled, what needs to be shortened, what needs to be an email instead of a meeting, and make time for the things that matter to me. And that's actually the premise of Start the Work, which is if your business isn't growing, or if you aren't in better shape, or you don't have better relationships with your kids, you quite literally aren't spending your time doing the right things.
Right.
And in order to spend your time better, you have to take a minute and assess, where am I spending my time? So that time for me is protected on, it's either Sunday or Monday morning, depending on if we have an event going on. But I really am focused on, how am I looking at my calendar upcoming to prioritize the relationships and the things that I say matter to me,
Yes.
the New Year's resolutions that we always write down and we say, oh, this is really important. This is going to be the year that I'm going to make the new friends and I'm going to have the body that I want. But are you actually spending your time getting closer to those things? And my hack for this is, if you are not getting closer to these things, you are not spending your time in alignment with them. So where do you need to fix that? And how can you look at that every single week to shift and tweak and realign, so that you don't forget and you don't show up to another New Year's thinking, man, I'm really disappointed in the person that I am. And I felt like I spent too many years just being disappointed and frustrated with myself. It was always a birthday and New Year's where
Yes.
I would really feel terrible. And most people celebrate their birthdays and celebrate New Year's and it looks so fabulous. But for me, most of those holidays, I would end up crying because I felt really disappointed in myself because I hadn't gotten closer to where I was trying to go. And so the hack on this is, how do you assess that every single week? Get it in alignment so that you don't waste the 51 weeks out of a year just getting lost in the minutia and being busy without actually making a significant progress toward the place that you actually want to go.
Mm-hmm. Yes, aligning with the things that are going to actually matter and move the mark, and give you the stats that you can bring to the table. I love that. I mean, even clearing time on your schedule gives you that time back to yourself if you want to take a moment and you want to have that introspection and look at where you're going with your life. So I absolutely love that. I know that there are people that will be listening that are struggling in business. And I know you say that 97% of small businesses fail within the first 10 years. That's the stat, right? 5 to 10?
That's correct.
Mm-hmm. That's astonishing, right? And if you just take a moment to think about how you could realign your day, as Natalie's saying, how you can look at your schedule, look at what you're doing, and how you could put more time and effort into the things that actually move the mark inside of your business, you would have an entirely different business, an entirely different life. I've seen it happen to me. I've seen it happen as I aligned with 10X events, Cardone Ventures, people in my life, like putting people in my life, only giving them the time when they're actually going to give something back to me, or if I'm giving something to them. But align yourselves with the spheres that are actually moving the mark, and that's when you'll see the change. So, if you had to give some final words of inspiration to people listening to this podcast that want to start something big, what would you say, Natalie?
I would say, if you solve your customers' problems, you will win in business. We do not have to overcomplicate business with all of the information that there is on the internet and so many people telling you to look at this funnel strategy and look at this ad strategy and here's a course on how to do XYZ. You can really simplify it by understanding that if you solve your customers' problems, you do win in business. So don't get disconnected from your customers. Ask what they want, deliver what they want to them, and then you train your teams on how to do that. But don't get lost in thinking that it's about something else. It's not about making your team members happy. It's not about creating a culture if you aren't actually creating a culture that is based entirely around your clients being successful with you. So every day, if you wake up asking yourself, how do I help business owners or how do I help my patients? You will figure out how to grow and scale your business, because it is the hardest thing to stay focused on. With all of the meetings, with all of the marketing initiatives and the accounting initiatives, it becomes very distracting and confusing to run a business. It doesn't have to be. Stay focused on your customers' problems and you will win.
I love that. Stay focused and you will win. Put in the work. So thank you so much for being on this podcast today, Natalie. I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to make an impact in people's lives and in those listeners' lives that might be listening. Can you just tell them where they can find you and where they can find the upcoming events that Cardone Ventures is putting on?
Yes, you can find me at Natalie Dawson on Instagram. I also have a lot of fun over on TikTok. So I'm the Natalie Dawson over there. And the event schedule is published at cardoneventures.com/events. We have an upcoming People Essentials I know happening soon. So you definitely don't want to miss out on that, because that, for most people, is the first step for them to really understand how we can help them scale and grow and get all of the people problems, maybe not vanish, but at least there's a system and process to be able to handle them with.
We're always going to have them. And if you want to hear more from Natalie, she has her own podcast as well that's really inspiring, really insightful, has a lot of incredible guests, and then she gives her own insights as well. So Building Billions, highly recommend listening to that podcast.
Thank you. You're so amazing.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Holding Time Back, brought to you by Alpha Aesthetics Partners. If you like what you heard, please leave a comment below. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep striving, and keep holding time back.